Hello and a very warm welcome back to Fox's Weight Watcher Kitchen. I'm Johnny Fox. Now, firstly, thanks guys for all the comments you've been making and people that talk to me about my recipes as well. They always say, Johnny, you always do savoury dinners, savoury desserts, savoury snacks. Do something different. So I thought, well, today guys, as you can see from the spread in front of me, we are going to do something, I call it really naughty. What are they going to be? Chocolate brownies. But I'm going to show you two different variations on how to do it. The first one we used to make, we used to get 150 grams of flour. Then you're talking about 100 grams of butter. Then you've got 100 grams of brown sugar, 50 grams of white sugar, a couple of eggs, little splash of salt, your cocoa powder, mix it all together and make your brownies. The second version is going to be lentils, chocolate chips, Sukrin Gold. Remember me talking about this before in one of my other recipes? I think it was the cheesecake one. This is a brown sugar substitute which I use. The other one that I use, it looks like white sugar. This is called Xylitol. You can buy it at most supermarkets as well. Instead of the butter, we're going to be using advacado, still using a couple of eggs and a little splash of salt in each. So let's just show you quickly how we're going to do this. The butter, we need this to be melted, so I'm going to quickly put that in the pot. I've got the cooker to one side. So I'm just going to quickly warm up that. It's a little bit too warm. Let's turn that down because we want that to be melted before we start. So let's get the scales out of the way and get some of these ingredients going. Firstly, let's throw in a couple of eggs because at this point it doesn't really matter which way round you put these ingredients in. So a couple of eggs, and then we've got our 100 grams of brown sugar, 50 grams of ordinary white caster sugar. Just going to give this a little bit of a whisk to get things together and combine it nicely, at which point the butter should be just about ready. That is almost, as you can see, I've got my little hot stove to the side there so I can melt this butter down nice and easy. That looks like it's just about melted, so we pour the butter in there as well and give this a little bit of a whisk up, because this, I don't know about you guys, but when you have cakes, they're always naughty. Everyone says that they're really naughty. The other thing I throw in at this point is that little splash of salt, because that will bring out the flavour of the brownie. Some people, when they're doing these, they also chuck in, I know some people say it, that little nip of coffee. Personally, I'm not a lover of it. Now we've got the wet ingredients, all we're going to do is start folding in some of these dry ingredients. So the flour, we just fold that in nice and gently. You can use a spoon. As you can see, I'm just using a whisk for this one. I'm saving the chocolate chips till last because that is the bit that's going to take the time towards the end. And you can fold this in whichever way you want. You can use a spoon. As you can see, I'm just using a whisk. Once it starts incorporating together, then we start adding a few other ingredients as well. Now, cocoa powder. What do we, oh, wet ingredients. Sorry, I forgot as well. Vanilla essence, if you like it. I'll be honest, I'm a lover of it. I'm going to get my little spoon, 1 teaspoonful of vanilla essence, adds to the flavour as well. I'll keep that to one side because we're going to use that again in the second recipe. This is getting a little bit tight now. Now, the cocoa powder, I tend to use the Dr. Oetker one. Reason being, I've used it for so many years. I like the flavour of it as well. And with this one, we're going to use 25 grams. So this is where, get some gram scales. Some people say you can do it by the cupful. All I do is just turn my scales on. I'll get my spoon so I can just very carefully nip this out. And then I just weigh mine down to 25 grams. And there we go, 25 grams of the cocoa powder. We'll keep that to one side. Let's not mix it on the scales because it's a little bit awkward. And this is where all you're doing is just playing and folding and mixing all of these ingredients together. I don't know about you, but the smell of chocolate when you're making these cakes and brownies and all these other naughty foods, they are so nice. As you can see, this is getting nice and thick now because the flour, the gluten's starting to activate slightly in the flour, so it does get a little bit tight. This is where I start to change now and get my little spoon, because now it's all coming off of there. It's not mixing as easy because it's not just loose wet ingredients. So I take it all off on the spoon, and at this point I can now chuck in my chocolate chips. All I've got there is, I go to the wholesalers and get a large bag, so wherever you get your chocolate chips from, for this recipe all I'm putting in is 100 grams of chocolate chips. And as you can see, just fold these in just so that the whole lot is nicely mixed. I always say you can't over mix this, because the way I'm going to do this in the other ingredients, I'm going to show you a totally different way of mixing. It might look slightly wetter, it might look slightly tighter, depends on how you do the lentils. So that is recipe number 1 mixed. I'm going to move that to one side, and then I'm going to get my little gadget out and do the same ingredients but a slight variation. So 2 eggs, again, exactly the same quantity of eggs. Move that to one side. Advacado, I've got 100 grams. You can use a typical medium size. Now, if you'll be Weight Watcher point wise, this is only 10 points. So instead of 38 points worth of butter, the butter, by the way, is unsalted from Asda. That is 38 points. Other wet ingredients, we're going to have a little bit more of the vanilla essence. And then we'll just quickly blend this up with the sugars. Always say it doesn't matter if you go a little bit too heavy on the vanilla essence, because after all, it does taste nice, but let's not lick the fingers these days. Put the lid on top of that and give this a little bit of a blend. Get my gadget out from underneath, because it only needs a bit of pulsing to give that a bit of a mix. Then we can start throwing in the sugars. So the Sukrin Gold, again, instead of brown sugar, I'm using 100 grams of Sukrin Gold. And then I'm using my Xylitol, again, only 50 grams. This one I'm going to pulse this up again. Actually, I could throw, because I'm pulsing it, I can throw all this together. And then I'm going to put in my 150 grams of lentil instead of 150 grams of flour. And as you can see, if anything, it's probably slightly easier and a bit quicker to put this together. Give it a little pulse to start with. And Johnny, come on, get your act together. Don't forget the little splash of salt. Always make mistakes when I'm doing it on the video. So that can go back on the top. Throw all those dishes to one side. We can throw those in the dishwasher in a while. And just give this a little bit of a pulse. And then spin. So volume down for this bit. And as you can see, that is everything all nicely mixed. To put the lid back on the vanilla essence while it's over there out of the way. And then we can just move these toys out of the way as well. Get the lid over there. And the only other thing that's missing on this one now is the cocoa powder. So again, scales, back on top of the scales, and very carefully get 25 grams of cocoa powder. And again, the Dr. Oetker one, I tend to find this is a really lovely flavour. That is 22, 23, 24, 25. There you go. 25 grams of beautiful cocoa powder. Now we can give this another spin. You can if you want to. I don't know why I do it this way. I tend to blend things up piece by piece. I have in the past, when I've been too busy sometimes, I have just grabbed the whole lot, put it all in there, and just whisked it all up nice and quick. As you can see now, it's going that lovely brown colour, absolutely beautiful. And again, flavour wise, it tastes pretty much the same as the other one. Move all the washing up into the same area, and as you can see, there's your mix. Absolutely beautiful when you look at that. I always take the blade out before I start folding in the chocolate chip cookies. So all the washing up can go into one space, but I don't really want to waste any of these ingredients, because this is going to be absolutely beautiful. And as you can see, mucky fingers, always keep a rag handy. In with the chocolate chip cookies. Take the spoon. Where did I put the spoon? Back in the other mix. We'll use a wooden one for this one. And just to fold this in exactly the same way as we did on the other one. This mixture, guys, when you do this one, because it's not butter and the butter is starting to harden slightly, this one actually looks a little bit looser, but once they're cooked. Oh, and the other ingredient as well, which I forgot on both of these, I can't believe I've done this, is the baking powder. So I will give this a little bit more of a whisk up as well. I always use, if I can get the big one again, a whole teaspoonful of baking powder. Throw that one into there. You can, it should have been mixed in at the beginning once I'm doing all the dry ingredients, so forgive me for that, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to quickly mix this in now. It doesn't really make that much of a difference because it will still raise. So I'm just going to give this one a wiggle. This one, as you can see, is a lot wetter than the other one. But taste wise, guys, these are really, really delicious. That's that one done. I'm going to quickly fold this one in. As you can see, the butter's making this one slightly harder. If there's any professional cooks out there, please don't leave comments saying you should have put that in the beginning, because I know I should have done. It's usually mixed in with the flour and the cocoa powder all dry. I think there's something about when I'm doing these as videos, I tend to, but then, you know, guys, I'm a human being the same as everybody else. We can make mistakes, as long as it's all folded in and it's all mixed in together. As you can see, this is all mixing in really nice. You can see this one, because the butter's starting to get slightly harder now, the sides are quite cold. So when you're mixing this in, because this is butter, it's been warmed up to get it to mix easy. Once it goes into the oven, it will level itself out. So there's our two mixtures. As you can see, looks pretty much the same. All you need now is your baking trays, your brownie trays. I always line mine up with some parchment paper. If you don't put this paper in, you'll end up with a really mucky tray at the end and you can't get it out. I find just cut some parchment paper, put it to the inside, move him to one side first, and then we just pour the whole lot into these trays. As you can see, it's a little bit fiddly because this one's starting to set already. Like I say, because this one's got the butter in it, but really nice. If you've got bigger trays, you can fold these down smaller. You can see, normally if I do these, I usually do a bigger batch. I normally double the ingredients for these. Don't waste any of the ingredients, Johnny. And as you can see, clean sides, clean fingers. Don't like to waste any of my food. And once the bowl is almost cleaned out, then we can just level this one off a bit. Put the washing up to one side. So all we do with this one now is just play around, keeping the parchment paper nice and square. Guys, if you want these fatter, double up on the ingredients. As you can see, it's almost halfway through the tray on this one. But all I do is just play and level this out. It does, once it's in the oven, it starts to self-level anyway. And I just pull it to one side. And because it's got the parchment paper in there, not going to waste any of these ingredients. So we put a little bit more of that juice on the top and then play with the spoon just to level that off afterwards. Last little piece. And there's one ready to go into the oven. The other one, let's get the other tray. And remember guys, this one is a lot easier on the points. As you can see, it's a lot looser because there's no butter setting this one down. We will grab the other spoon because I prefer doing it with this one because it pulls out easier. As you can see, this one pours. It's really nice, but once they're in the oven, guys, they set really well. They taste absolutely delicious. But I will say, when you're doing cooking and baking and things like this, I've mentioned this quite a few times, I love this little rubber spoon because you can manipulate your food around so easy with it. But as you can see, keep all the washing up to one side, not going to waste a drop of this. It's so nice. And once you're working out the points on these, I know you're probably thinking, well, where's the points? There is, if you have a look at this now, see that spreadsheet? There's the points, there's the ingredient level. You can see from the amount of different points that we got, on the regular brownie one, we've got 114 points versus this avocado one, which is only 37 points. So as you can see now from this one's leveling a lot easier because there's no butter in this one going hard. Now they're both ready. I'm just going to take the last few bits off of there. Pop that into the tray as well. Put that with the rest of the washing up. Give the fingers another quick clean off. And all I'm going to do, guys, there's your two recipes ready to go into the oven. We don't need the spoon anymore. This one's the one with the butter and all the fattening agents, which is what I call your standard brownie mix. This one is the avocado and lentil mix. I'm going to pop these in the oven, time-wise, about 25 to 30 minutes. I tend to find, look at them in the oven. Mine's a fan assisted oven, so mine usually goes for about 25 minutes on. If it's gas, you're doing it gas Mark 4. If it's an electric oven, it's 180. I think that's 350 in Fahrenheit. Correct me if I'm right or wrong on that, but I put mine in for 180. That's what my oven says. Take them out, leave them to set for a while, and then we'll come back, cut them down into slices, and I'll show you how they look once they come out of the oven. So back again after they've been in the oven. Okay, so the brownies have been in the oven for 30 minutes. As you can see, nice and cracked on the top and all set nice and easy. You can see straight away the difference. What I've done, I've taken them out of the oven and let them cool down for about 35 minutes, just so that we can touch them, play with them and see how they look. The one with the flouring, you can see straight away this is a lighter brown colour, whereas the other one seems to go like a darker brown colour. Let's take them out of the parchment paper and see how they're going to look. As you can see, nice and easy to touch. This one still feels a little bit soft. I'm going to quickly flip him over and move that to one side, and I'm going to do exactly the same with the other one. And the first thing that you're going to see, this one will break up slightly more because it's a bit softer. Let's just get the knife straight through these so we can see exactly what we're up against. As you can see, this is the other thing as well, guys. When you're doing these, if you want them to go thicker, then double the ingredients or do it in a smaller pan. These have gone nice and flat. This is the way I personally like my brownies, nice and thin. That's why I only do my recipe with the ingredients that you've seen so far, with 100 grams of virtually everything through. When you chop these up, they're nice and easy. This is the one with the flour consistency. As you can see, still nice and doughy on the inside. If you want this to be more spongy like it is on the outside and cook more to the inside, then just leave them in the oven for a little bit longer as well. Taste wise, this one, it's got that kind of, that's like a real fudgy taste when you do the traditional brownie. When you chop open the other one, this one's going to be probably slightly softer. Again, you can do these slightly longer, but if you look at the consistency of these, again, nice. It's more like a fudge brownie rather than the spongy brownies. Again, it's the same thing. If you want them to go more spongy, put a bit more baking powder inside the ingredients, and then it will raise it more. Double the ingredients and add more content as well. Leave them in the oven for a bit longer, because I like mine to be what I call fudgy. As you can see from this one, lovely and fudgy consistency. If you break a piece off, that is so soft and nice and delicious. Personally, I like them like this, so you don't have to do much chewing, but taste wise there's hardly any difference. The only difference you're looking at is the point quantity. So if you're looking at the ones with the flour and everything else really high on the points, I'll put all the ingredients down below as well, so if you want to copy and post those, or just go back on the video, you remember the spreadsheet we showed you earlier on with all the different points on there, loads of difference in the points. These will make 8 brownies a piece, so they're breaking them down into points is going to be negligible, about 3.5 to 4 points for the one with the avocado and the lentil. And the lentil, people always say, I've got to say this is really nice. The lentil part as well, people always say, how do you get your lentils to go so dry? So a little trick, you know how you cook up your lentils for about 15 minutes and make them go soft? Then I strain mine in a sieve, so it gets rid of all this, what I call the lentil juice, the orange taste and everything else, which is the thickening agent. Once they've been strained down, I get a cloth, very similar to these ones that I tend to wipe my hands with, a nice microfiber cloth, pour those in there, and then just squeeze the lentils, and all the liquid comes out through the cloth, and when you reopen it, you've got virtually dry lentils. That's how I make mine in this mix as well. If you want to get them slightly wetter, you can, but they will come out a lot softer. You'll see just in the consistency of this, it holds itself quite well, same as this one. This one is more like a sponge cake brownie, but very fudgy on the inside as well. If you hold it bigger, you'll see it does tend to want to break, and it's very flexible. This is just personally a way that I prefer mine. If you want them to go drier, then you can raise it more by putting more baking powder in it, or leave them in the oven for slightly longer as well. Always look for this cracked look on the top. Once it starts to crack, you know it's going to be cooking right the way through. Guys, it's a naughty recipe, I know. Not too heavy on the points if you follow the avocado and lentil recipe, if you want your traditional brownie. And again, people always say you don't have to follow a recipe. I don't follow anyone's recipe. I always take a recipe and I adapt it and make it my own. If you want to put your coffee mix into it as well to get that coffee flavour in the brownie, you can add that as well. I've heard of other people putting different nuts in, like cashew nuts, walnuts, pecan nuts. If you want to blend those in the mix at the same time as well, you can. And I know there was a bit of a mix up at the early part, putting all the dry ingredients, and I put the baking powder in after. Probably why this one's a little bit softer. I'll be honest, it's actually done me a favour, because this one's come out quite nice and I like it really soft and moist. But guys, if you like the food that you're seeing, you know where that subscribe button is. Click on the subscribe, click on the bell button, you'll be notified of other ones as well. Going to be following this one as well with a few more cakey recipes, a few more naughty dishes, because like I say, some of my friends have been saying all I'm doing at the moment is following up on one savoury dinner, one savoury breakfast, one savoury snack, all the way through. So I think I'll focus just for a few more videos on the naughty side of things as well. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you do enjoy it, leave your comments below as well, subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you on the flip side on the next one. Till then, take care, have yourself a great week.